Hey everybody, this is Charles from broadcasting live from Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia. I just recently arrived and I wanted to do a quick video because there's been some questions in the Reddits, Twitter, and I got from Rick a collection of questions, 5 of them, and I wanted to answer them briefly and also discuss a little bit more about Atala and Cardano. So the 5 questions are: what is keeping the deployment of Shelley back? 2, how many engineers and personnel are actually working full time on the Cardano network development? 3, is there any difference? Is there a different team working on Shelley? 4, are the delays in Cardano development because engineers have been moved off of Cardano project to focus on Atala? And 5, is Atala the primary focus now while Cardano takes a back seat? I get these questions from time to time, and it's surprising to me that they were even going to be asked on the Cardano effect. But I figured, well, instead of having one of my engineers answer them, I'll answer them. So number 1, what is keeping the deployment of Shelley back? I thought it was clear in my prior AMA, but I'll reiterate it. We are building a product that is based upon new science and new ideas. And we are building this in an open, transparent way. Generally speaking, when this happens in industry, what happens is that the R&D phase concludes before it is consumerized, it's productized, and it's given to the consumer. So you guys see the end result of Project Natal, which turns into Xbox Connect. You see the end result of years of effort that go into the face scanner for the iPhone or for the fingerprint reader in the Samsung S10. Had you seen those in earlier iterations, you would have seen nothing but delays and missed schedules and deadlines, because that's the nature of building things based upon research. You make best effort, you make every attempt to try to get things to where they need to go, but you never quite hit that deadline. It's not because people are incompetent, it's not because people don't know what they're doing, it's because these are new things that have been never done before. For example, there are many buildings in London when people decided to build a skyscraper somewhere that when they started digging, they discovered catacombs and corpses and all these other weird things. They had to bring in people to study them and say, well, how old are they? Where are they from? What museum do we take them to? Delay it by 6 months to a year. It just happens. When you're doing new things, when you're pioneering, occasionally, every now and then, you have a delay. And these delays are, again, not because of incompetence or lack of resources or lack of knowledge. It's because of the newness behind the protocols, or because you discover things that make you change things along the way. We released the formal specifications of Shelley back in Q1. And at that point, the protocol was pretty solid. And we're really not going to make many changes. And those were hard fought, those specifications. They came from a large implementation team spending many months studying these things, building prototypes for these things, and proofs of concepts for these things. And our progress has been very transparent and clear. If you go to our GitHub repos, as many of you have done, you can see the code being committed on a daily basis. Now, as for the question of how large is the engineering team, more than 50 full-time engineers. And again, this can be verified from the GitHub repositories, where people can see people committing on a daily basis to the GitHub repositories for not just a few days, but for months and in some cases years. And this has been a continuous progress. Throughout all of 2018, our project was #1 for GitHub commits. And before you criticize and say, oh, well, anything is a GitHub commit, you can change one character and do a commit, well, then read the fucking commits and see what code we're actually pushing before you use a vacuous, idiotic statement like that. And I take great umbrage when people do these things and say these things. As for Atala resourcing, Atala is written in Scala. Cardano is written in Rust and Haskell. There are no Cardano developers currently working on Atala. These are completely separate projects in terms of their code base and the engineering acumen. We've actually moved people from Atala to the Cardano project. The head of the Atala project used to be Bruno Paleo, and now he's the IOHK Director of Engineering, and we moved him in to work on processes for Cardano to improve them. So the flow of people is moving not in the Cardano to Atala direction, it's actually the Atala to Cardano direction. We've been working on Atala for over 2 years as a parallel project. And the reason we wrote it in Scala is we didn't want to cannibalize any resources from the people that we have on the Cardano side. So it's just absolutely amazing to me that people think that this is some form of distraction. And in terms of the philosophical point of Atala, as mentioned for now years, but somehow is completely lost on the Reddits and Twitter and on Telegram, is that we need a bridge to bring everyday people who don't care at all about cryptocurrencies, don't use cryptocurrencies, don't think about cryptocurrencies into our ecosystem. You do not do that by showing up and trying to sell them a token. You do that by solving a problem they have. So, for example, if I go look at the coffee farmer in Ethiopia, am I just going to show up and say, let me give you a product that uses a token that you don't need? No, that does nothing for them. That's a scam. That's the greater idiot theory. And it's not who we are as a project. You go instead and say, I'd like to give you a mechanism that will allow you to sell your coffee on more marketplaces and for a higher value than the way you currently do it. That makes sense to them. You can sell that to them, and it makes their lives better, and it makes them richer. In the process of selling them that solution, they have an identity and they have a digital wallet. And then you can go back to that same person who's now in your ecosystem and now banked in the crypto world and say, by the way, there's the Cardano platform and you can use it for insurance and remittances and microfinance. That's how you bring people into our cryptocurrency. You don't bring it in by selling tokens or launching products that have no logical sense to be on an open public network. I mean, think of IoT. You have millions of readings every single day from millions of sensors. We're going to just put all of that on a blockchain, a public system, and we're going to store terabytes and exabytes of data eventually. For what reason? For what purpose? A blockchain is not a database. It's never meant to be used this way. So it makes a hell of a lot of sense to have a private strategy that works in tandem with an open system. And you put these two things together. One brings users into the other system, users who have never been in the cryptocurrency space, users who have no preferences, and users who are there because you've solved a problem for them. And now are using that system as a way to solve other problems, such as their need for insurance, remittances, and microfinance. So it's just incredible to me to see that so many people on Reddit and other sources have just flooded in and said that Atala is a great distraction, or that we've somehow scammed people, saying that Cardano is going to be the financial operating system, but we've bait and switched to a permission ledger solution. Our two options were either build something in-house that's guaranteed to be interoperable with Cardano, or use Fabric or some other framework like that. It's amazing. The same people that seem to criticize us for Atala were the people who were praising Ethereum for Enterprise Ethereum. Enterprise Ethereum doesn't use Ether. Enterprise Ethereum is a completely different code base and technology stack than Ethereum itself. So tell me, where are the synergies there? How can you praise Microsoft and IBM and all these other people for joining the EEA and saying how this is going to be the dawn of Ethereum, but somehow Atala won't add equivalent value to Cardano? It's idiocy and stupidity. And these questions are just extraordinary to me. So anyway, I just wanted to go over that. And I'm just blown away by some of these things. 50 plus full-time engineers, easy to validate. Go to GitHub and take a look at the many repositories that we have. No engineers from Atala have come from the Cardano side. It's actually the opposite. Some have left Atala and moved over to the Cardano side, where and when that actually made sense. And they use different code bases. One's written in Scala, and Cardano's written in Rust and Haskell. As for delays, this is the nature of anything that's based on research and development. Things come up, little things. For example, we have to use a key evolving signature scheme. So which one do you use? And how do you modify ED 25519 to have something like triple M in it? Well, we had to do that. Thought it'd only take a few weeks. Took a little bit longer. Why? Because these things aren't done. They're new. They're new crypto. And you make estimates. When you start doing it, little things come up, things you didn't anticipate. And they're complicated things. And you work your way through them. It doesn't mean it's a scam. It doesn't mean people aren't working. You can clearly see progress has been made. And I've just gotten very tired of these things. You need to calm down. Everybody needs to calm down and just look at the progress that's been made. There are multiple clients now, light clients, full clients. There are paper wallet generators on our side, on Amerco's side, a new blockchain explorer coming out, multiple code bases. And these things are evolving rapidly and they have great release schedules. We're starting to modularize the software, starting to harden the software, starting to make the software more enterprise grade. There's clear maturity and progress that's being made here every day. And we're not slowing down, we're speeding up. I'm in Mongolia, not for a vacation, guys. We're meeting with multiple ministers, and we probably will have a meeting with the president of Mongolia while I'm here. Do you think we're talking about the weather? Do you think we're just talking about, hey, how do we have fun? No, we're talking about how do we solve the fact that this country, 18% of the medicine in urban areas is counterfeit or adulterated, and 40% in the rural areas is counterfeit or adulterated or expired. So how do you put a traceability program like what PharmaTrust has done? We're talking about the fact that 93% of the people here have some access to mobile banking and 30% receive government disbursements at an enormous cost. We're talking about the fact that the Asia Development Bank has put hundreds of millions of dollars for various projects, and the audit trail is not so good here. These are real complicated situations, and blockchain comes in as part of that solution. And should we get just one solution in, we can bring hundreds of thousands of users into the cryptocurrency ecosystem. And now they're your customers as much as they are mine, because you can build dApps to now service them for things that they'd like to do. That's what I do. That's my job. I don't write code. I have 50 plus engineers just on the Cardano side who write code for that. So anyway, if you have concerns about the roadmap or the testnet, just be patient. These things come, and when they come, they're going to be great, and we'll work our way through the parts that aren't so great. But this has always been a long-term project. It's always been a methodical project. It's always been a project based upon evidence, and the evidence is clear. The GitHubs are open. The science papers we've written are all on the web, plus 40 plus of them. We continue to get accepted at Eurocrypt and CCS and crypto and all conferences. We continue to write papers. We continue to write code, and our ecosystem continues to grow. So Mongolia is great. Love to be here. Atala is going to be a huge success, and Cardano is going to be an even bigger success. Thank you for listening, and I'll talk again soon.